Yes!
Good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching this. In today's video, I'm going to go over the Gaines Lab Year of the Engine and competitor review. I've been following this program now for about 10 months. I contacted Matt to let him know I was going to do this video and made sure he was happy with me sharing the parts of the program that I'm going through. I've just got off the assault bike, which after a full day of training is a nice and steady hour, and my average calories a minute was 10, my average heart rate was about 75%. That doesn't sound that quick, but for me it's really quick, because when I started 10 months ago, my 10-minute time trial only got 93 calories, so that's 9.3 calories a minute. So to be able to now hold 10 calories a minute for an endurance session is a huge improvement. So if you wanted the short version, the Year of Engine works. If you want the long version, keep watching the video and I'll try and get into it a bit more.
So what I'm going to do is break down the program into its separate pieces. I'll put timestamps in the description below, so if you want to skip ahead, say to the part about Year of Engine and conditioning stuff, go ahead. So the first thing to note is the Gaines Lab is run by Matt Webke. Hopefully I'm not butchering his name. Matt has competed at the CrossFit Games and has an incredible aerobic capacity. So I reached out to Matt around the time of the CrossFit Open last year when I first wanted to start doing CrossFit. My background is in powerlifting mainly, and so I started off being quite strong in terms of the raw strength for CrossFit, but my capacity, my fitness was awful. So one of the first things on competitor programming is all of the skills work that you do. Now the skills work is off the clock and there's usually a range. So you can see here I've got 2 rounds not for time of ring muscle ups and pistols. So if I've got a day where I've got plenty of time, I'll err on the higher side and aim for bigger sets, whereas if it's a day where it's just get the work done, it's literally a case of do the skills work. The great thing about this being off the clock is that it means you can really pay attention to the technique and try and improve things. So the next thing is in each training day there are stretch shortening cycle and rate of force development drills. So a lot of jumping and explosiveness work. These are advanced strength parameters and used to increase your explosiveness without increasing your body weight. This is great for fitness sports because obviously you don't want to be too heavy, because then your gymnastics, running, that sort of thing is going to suffer. That then brings us on to the capacity, the classical conditioning work in the program, or if you're just doing Year of Engine, this is what this part is. So the first 3 months are engine builder, which is essentially it's basic interval type training, and it progresses over the 3 months with a few different 10-minute time trial tests. The next part is polarization, and then differentiation, and then finally the last 3 months of the first year are flux. You can see I put up a flux workout on the screen, and I put up a few different interval workouts from the program. These sessions, they make sense when you look at the whole week. There's usually 1 to 2 interval sessions, 1 to 2 flux sessions, and then endurance days or polarized days, depending on what week and phase you're on. In terms of improvement on the engine work, I've gone from a 10-minute time trial on the assault bike getting 93 calories to just the day that I filmed this, I did a higher pace, so 10 calories a minute for an hour. So a huge improvement there. My 10-minute time trial is just over 180 calories now. So I've nearly doubled that number in 10 months. So the capacity stuff, it clearly works. That brings us on to the next part, which is the prep work and the strength work. So each day has a prep session, which is basically just more warm-up stuff related to what the strength work is for that day. The strength work, it follows a standard progression, so you progress through each 4-week block, which is then part of a bigger 12-week block. In each 12-week block, you tend to hit some heavy singles towards the end and see some progress there. So throughout the training cycle, you'll do different things like the classic lifts like squats, bench, deadlift, overhead press, and weightlifting movements as well, your snatches, your clean and jerks. Matt's changed my program around quite a bit because, like I said before, my raw strength is already good, so I don't tend to need too much work on the squats and deadlift side of things, and it's more technique work on the weightlifting. And then upper body pressing strength isn't particularly good because of some issues I've had with my shoulders. Following on from all the strength work, you have a lot of accessory work. The accessory stuff, it's generally quite back heavy, so you're not likely to have your back blow up when you do workouts if you've been following competitor. There's nearly always good mornings, Jefferson curls, and then stuff like L-sits and farmers carries, which are all fantastic for just being strong throughout your middle. That sort of stuff's really helped in Metcons, especially anything that's got things like deadlifts, toes to bar, and overhead squats, anything where your midline is going to be the limiting factor. That then brings us on to the Metcons. There's a different Metcon every day. Some of them are hard, some of them are easy. So like this one, it's not too bad. It's an on the minute that I've put up. Whereas you've got something like this where you can just go as hard as you want. The Metcons usually make sense based on the lifting that you've been doing. So for example, if you've been doing heavy snatches, you typically won't then have heavy snatches in the Metcon, just to make sure that you're not overusing anything or ending up injuring yourself. So in a nutshell, that's what the programming looks like. In terms of my progress with it, my gymnastic skills are night and day different from when I started. When I started, doing a muscle up on the rings and the bar was kind of like a pipe dream, whereas now I can regularly do sets of 8 to 10 without much trouble, and my max set of strict ring muscle ups at the minute is 6 reps. So that's come on a long way. Stuff like handstand walks, as you saw earlier on in the video, I'm now working up to going over obstacles, so that's fantastic. In terms of the strength stuff, my raw strength, my squat and deadlift hasn't really changed, but like I mentioned, we don't tend to do that much work on that because for me, the strength's already there, and at the minute, it's the technique on the Olympic lifts that needs the most work. So with that being the lowest hanging fruit, that's what we tend to work on the most. My snatch has gone up from around 70 kilos to I hit 90 kilos a few weeks ago. So can't complain at that. That's great progress. The one thing I would say with the strength work is my pressing, my strict overhead pressing seems to just be stuck. But I think, like I said, that's probably more likely to the fact of I've had 2 operations on my right shoulder from previous injuries in sports. So I think that's likely to be the limiting factor there. In terms of improvement in Metcons, I'm significantly faster in a lot of stuff. There's some Metcons that I did in block 1, which were taking 20-30 minutes. Now they're literally 5 or 6 minutes. So there's a really good improvement there, which I'm very happy with. And in terms of the relationship with Matt, like I said, he's changed things around based on what I need, which is helpful. So overall, I'd say it's well worth doing the programming. Definitely Year of Engine, and if you're inclined, competitor as well. I'll put all of Matt's links below. Thanks for watching.